on. We've got a special guest here, and of course the fisheries. What do they call themselves these days?
We're Queensland Parks and Wildlife Service.
Parks and Wildlife Services. I can't call it the fisheries or anything.
Marine
Parks.
So, and we've also got Adrian here, and it is Adrian, isn't it?
It is.
It is Adrian, and he's our local member. And we went to, what was it, the RSL, an invitation for the various clubs to be able to get an organisation.
So with the minister, the sports minister?
The sports minister, to be able to say about how we can get grants for different things, and our fishing club's on that list of things we should be able to approach these organisations. So hopefully, if we've got some information, it'll give you some information out. If you've got any questions tonight, please ask, and I'll leave the floor open to you first.
Thank you, Don. Look, I want to thank Don and particularly Bob for the invitation to come along this evening. Obviously, I'm taking this opportunity to speak to you now following the announcement that the completion of the Great Sandy Marine Park Review Plan that had taken a number of years to get underway. My commitment, if members can remember, early just after I got elected in about around 2021, I came to this club and I said to individuals here at that time that what I would do, everything within my power during my first term in Parliament, which is coming to its first term's coming to its end in October this year, that I would do absolutely my best to ensure that there was some certainty in and around the Great Sandy Marine Park, because there was a lot of confusion at that time. Obviously, as you well know, the history of it is that the Great Sandy Marine Park Review Plan was up for review in 2016, and from 2016 to when I got elected in late 2020, it was sort of in hiatus. It wasn't in hiatus as far as the department was concerned, it was just the political will to get it done wasn't there from this region. And so when I got in there, I said to individuals, I said to rec fishers, I said to commercial fishers at the time as well, that I would try to alleviate that uncertainty that is there regarding that plan. And so whether warts and all, that plan would have to go ahead, it would have to be struck, because most people know, those that have been here in Hervey Bay for any period of time would know what the first Great Sandy Marine Park plan was. I've been in Hervey Bay since 2020. One of my former roles in 2004 is I worked for a short period of time with then local member Andrew McNamara. And Andrew McNamara was the individual at that time who was given the responsibility from that state government of that time to put into place the Great Sandy Marine Park Review. And so that plan was struck and put into place in 2006 and obviously went for 10 years until 2016. From 2016, there was supposed to be a process shortly before that for that review to take place, and obviously that review took a little bit more time than it probably should have, but eventually we got to it, and we've got to a point where now on the 21st of May this year, the Great Sandy Park plan is now regulated and in place. So I thought it'd be a really good opportunity for me to take this time to say to you, it's been delivered. I know that some recreational fishers are not happy with some of the plan, but I think generally by and large the review actually took into consideration the recreational fishers' position as well as the commercial fishers' position and all other stakeholders that were actually impacted by that review. Obviously, as you're probably well aware, I gave an undertaking to the commercial fishing industry that if this plan was to go ahead and be put into place, that I, as the local member, wouldn't be supportive of this plan unless there was some compensation for those commercial fishers, because I felt as I went around and I spoke to recreational fishers as well as commercial fishers, that everybody was in agreement that if the plan was going to be put into place, it would impact the livelihoods of some individuals, that there had to be some form of a structural adjustment package, that's what they call it, it's compensation package put in place to assist them transition, if they wanted to, out of the commercial industry, but also support those downstream processes as well who may be impacted by the reduction in catch that will come from there. Now, a lot of commentary within the community, and I become more alarmed because the wonderful world of social media tends to, you know, you can probably believe about 80%, about 20% of everything's on social media and 80% of it's just rubbish. Is simply that that compensation package was put into place to assist people to transition out. Now there were some commercial fishers, of course they were very concerned about what was going to happen to their industry, but there's been this line of I just say it's just rubbish out there that somehow the commercial fishing industry has been closed down in the Great Sandy Marine. That's not right. There still is an ability for the commercial fishers to fish there. They will have reduced catches because they've been asked to remove their gill nets out of the straits. So it isn't a fact that commercial fishing has been closed down. It's a fact that the commercial fishing has been there's a transitional period from the first plan to the second plan. Will there be future plans? Who knows? But obviously, as we well know, that's the Great Sandy Marine Park. It is a national park. It is designated as a national park. It's a UNESCO site, and also it's a marine environment with some very endangered species. Now, one of the reasons for this was, and I'll get Mike, to assist us with particular details. But we were 23 endangered species was there. I think that was within the plan. I think it was 22, 23. Yeah, around that. I don't know the exact number, but there were 22 to 23 endangered species within the marine park that are now being protected because of this new regulation. So that's my history with regards to that. As I said, I've been around a long time. During that time when Andrew McNamara put the first Great Sandy Marine Park plan into place, I actually worked in his office, and I actually worked with the commercial fishers and spoke to them about what the impacts of these marine park plans would do to their industry. But at the same time, we also listened to every stakeholder, and that includes you guys as recreational fishers, and the concern that you guys had regarding the impacts commercial fishing were having on your own recreational pursuit in fishing. So the evidence was there. It stacked up that this plan would be put into place because the evidence basically said that the biomass was reducing to the point where it was getting to critical, and that eventually in time, if the recreational fishing continued at the level that it was fishing at and the catch that it was taking out of the strait, that eventually some of those fishing species would not be able to recover and they would decline to the point where they would disappear. And so hopefully this plan is a compromise, and it's a compromise plan. I won't stand here and tell you as recreational fishers that have been fishing the straits for a long time that this plan is everything that you all wanted. But I said to you, as I stood here 3 years ago, and I said to the commercial fishers that we would try as best we possibly can to ensure that we got a compromise plan that would, by and large, have everybody agree to it. And the feedback I've got is that most people agree to it at this stage. And so there is obviously some people, and I've been told by some recreational fishers, you've taken away some of my best fishing spots because we've enlarged the green zones and other zones. Yes, I stand here and I can be your punching bag. You can go for me. I'm okay with that. Yes, there was an increase in green zones because what we did is try to turn this back into what it is, and that is a marine park. And so we need to make sure, and this is my argument, as well as the government's argument, as well as the scientists' argument, is that we need to protect this zone for the future. So your kids and your grandchildren and your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren can at least go down to that park, throw in a line and catch a fish in the future. Because the rate it was going before this plan was put into place, you would have been a day when your grandchildren threw a line into that water and there would never be a fish coming out of it. And for a lot of people, I've been told, who use tinnies to go fishing as well, that they would spend a fortune in their fuel to take their boat out there and they come back with nothing. So I'm here to answer as many questions you possibly can, and so is the department here as well, particularly those, if you've got any real technical detail questions, I'll ask Mike to do that, but I'm here to answer your questions, so thank you. A regulation is a departmental thing. Obviously, we have those in place as well, because a part of that is ensuring that there is compliance.
Yeah, so we're the ones that manage compliance. So, and we work in conjunction with fisheries in doing that. So we do onboard patrolling both overtly and covertly in unmarked vessels as well as marked vessels. We do regular inspections on the commercial fishermen, and yeah, as part of our compliance planning, we look at certain areas and we target certain fisheries and make sure that they are compliant with the regulations.
Do you check their boats on a regular basis?
Yes.
How often?
Well, it depends. So, yeah. We also monitor by desktop too as well with the vessel tracking of commercial fishers. So that's a requirement under DAP is to have a tracking system on them so we can see where they are at all times as well. So we monitor them by that as well. But yeah, then we do inspection from around the water. We saw some guys out yesterday. They're out doing the right thing. So yeah, we don't intervene, but yeah, we check them when we're out on patrol.
Can they turn it off while they're out fishing?
No, it's an offence for them to turn it off while they're out. And so there's alerts that happen if our systems go down. We get alerted. So it may be an actual fault. When that happens, they've got to do manual reporting. So they've got to call a phone number and manually report their location.
Your name up the back? Can I just ask you give me your name when you ask a question? Michael? Nigel, sorry.
You've expanded the green zone.
Yeah.
Now I've heard some stories that there might be some fads going out that are going to be provided by the government or company.
Yep, so there's an additional artificial reef program going in. We're still currently in the planning stages of that, doing our constraint mapping for suitable sites. But yes, there will be 2 new artificial reefs going in within the marine park. So,
is that within the recreational fishing areas, or is it in the marine park no-go zone?
no, it's not going to be in. It is for fishers, so it is for people for fishing. So it's also going to be for diving and that as well. So it's for all users. Yeah.
My name's Felix. Why only 2 and not a dozen?
So,
What, artificial reefs?
I mean, you're enhancing the area.
Yeah.
The more you put in,
yeah.
the more you go on track.
So again, it's the thing is what money we've got and how many we can put in for that money. So with artificial reefs, they have to be a certain size, otherwise they're not really going to do too much. So we've got to make them to be a certain size of structures. So in 2015, we put 2 in. One at Simpson and one at Hardy. They're the 2 artificial reefs. They're going to be looking to be similar like that. That's kind of the funding that we've got. So that's what we'll do.
What's the cost we're talking about per each one?
Yeah, the project's about $2 million.
For each one?
No, for the 2. Yeah, yeah.
Just, Michael, just my
Yep.
example.
Yep.
An artificial reef, is that a system or is that just one, or is it
No.
4 or 5? Or
So
6?
what they are, they're going to be a purpose-built structure, and they'll be a purpose-built structure depending on the location of where they're going to be in. But what they'll be a cluster of modules. So we'll put them in clusters within a larger area, in individual clusters of 3, 4, 5 of structures.
Where the money goes, it's going into all those clusters, isn't it?
The main money is the logistics and the putting them in. Yep. Yeah. So the last ones that we put in, they're in clusters of 3, and there's 3 clusters in each reef. They're 17-ton structures, so they're 4 metres by 4 metres squared and 5 metres tall. And we put them in 3 little clusters in Simpson and Hardy. So we'll be looking for purpose-built structures, something similar to that.
So you're not going to dump washing machines
No.
and stuff there?
No, it's all purpose-bult structures. Yeah.
Unless you want to wash your fish.
Yeah.
It might be just
Yeah.
a recycle system.
Yeah. Yeah.
Might have.
We're going to let members do it.
There's one back Down the back. Yourself? Yep.
Yeah, my name's Darryl. As part of this, what would you call it, expenditure that's going to go into recreational fishing, is there any plans to improve our facilities around the bay, such as boat ramps, parking areas, etc.?
I think, yes, there was additional
Yes, there was.
money for that.
Yep.
That goes to TMR, another department.
Yep.
So I'm not 100% how much was going
Give
to
me a
that.
moment, I will.
It is in here somewhere.
It is indeed. Yes, there is. There will be increases and upgrading of some of the boat ramps. I'm just trying to see where they say they might be, but they have provided the funding for those. So it's going towards those improvements.
And that's what goes into what they call the Marine Infrastructure Fund, which is managed by Department and Main Roads.
Yeah, so any impacts to recreational fishery will be further offset by the government's funding allocation of $6 million for additional upgraded recreational boating infrastructure, public boat ramps within the marine park, and $2.5 million for the construction of additional artificial reefs.
2.5.
Within the park, yeah. So it's a $6.5 million package.
Yep.
Yep.
My name's Ian. I'm just wondering how many commercial licences have been surrendered in that, and also when is the end of the pontoon going to be put back at Riverheads?
Again, that's a TMR question with the boat ramp. The buyback process is still happening. There was an extension to the program, so it has been extended for another month. So we don't have final numbers yet. And then it moves into stage 3, which is also for other affected industries, such as local suppliers of products and things like that.
I'll just bounce off what Mike said. That's something I also wanted to talk about, because obviously everybody's concerned about what's going to happen with the commercials and what the compensatory package is. As he indicated, the package closed on the 30th of June, and those payments covered most of the eligible Great Sandy Marine Park licence holders. Stage 2 of the package will extend until the 31st of July, and they are for the Great Sandy Marine Park impacted industries, which components marine aquarium fishers, hammerhead shark payments, skipper and crew support, and downstream business support. And then the stage 3 of the package, which will be open until the 31st of January 2025, will be the eligible gillnet fishers who are able to seek payments for their stranded gillnet assets. In particular, those assets that they, that's pretty straightforward. If they've got gillnets and you all know that nets cost a lot of money, so their gillnets would cost them a lot of money, and if they're stranded with those assets, they can't either on-sell them or change over, then they can actually access the package. Now, I understand the package with the federal government and the state government was around about 125 million. Is that correct?
I thought it was 160.
160 million, was it? Sorry, even more than that. So it was a large compensation package. And as I said in my introduction, is that as the local member, I was very concerned about what would happen to our commercial fishers, and ensured that I went and spoke to Treasury and was able to secure that funding for them. It's one of the biggest compensatory packages that's ever been given to any industry in Queensland. I'm pretty, even though I know that it is impacting people's livelihoods, I know that at least they're being compensated for that. I also know that there are some fishers who were towards the end of life. What I mean by that is that they were about to get out of the industry, that have taken this opportunity to get out of the industry, as they did in 2006, when the state brought back a lot of their licences at that time to remove some of the fishers that were fishing in the area as well. So whilst for them it is an impact on them, and I acknowledge that, there is this industry the structural industry adjustment package for them to be able to compensate them for that. For some, some will continue to fish. As I said, not all commercial fishing has been removed. Just mainly a lot of the gill nets have been removed out of the area. So there is ongoing fishing in the area that will be allowable for the foreseeable future as we continue to transition the Great Sandy Marine Park into a marine park.
My name is Mark. Just speaking on the ongoing fishing, is there anything with the Mary River and the nets that are still going on further up into the reach of the Mary out of the Great Sandy Straits within government. Are you aware of the?
Yes, I am aware of it. It is that part of the Mary River is in the electorate of Maryborough. It's not that I just disassociate myself with it, but I allow my colleague Bruce Saunders to be actively involved in that as the representative for that area. You might be able to tell us, Mike, what's going in there?
Yeah, well, the marine park doesn't go very far up the Mary River, so it only goes up to a point. I can't remember what rock we call it. Beaver Rock, that's it. Always forget the name. Yeah. Beaver Rock, and then up from that, it just goes to the normal fisheries regulations. Yeah, so the large mesh netting can still occur under the fisheries.
My understanding, yeah, that is a breeding ground for barramundi and so forth.
Yeah.
And so, in speaking with Bruce, I know Bruce is in full support of the removal of the nets out of there. And I know that he's supported a petition to the Parliament and has actually spoken to the Fisheries Minister and also the Environment Minister about that, and to the government generally about extending that into there. Now, what happens there is obviously a process that will take a little bit of time, because like all of these regulations and maps that have been put into place, these guys and their colleagues are the ones that give us the advice, because we deal with fact. We don't deal with hearsay, fiction, commentary that comes off Facebook. We don't do any of that. What we do is we make sure that there is a factual and there is the scientific basis to all of this. Yes, there is arguments in the community whether the science is right or otherwise. But look, I'm not an aquatic scientist, and I will not override someone who gives me advice. But we don't take it from one source. Somehow, I think some people just believe that government just takes it from one source. We don't do that. There's cross sources. The information that these guys work on and receive is from all over the area. It's about catch, it's about take, it's about biomass, it's about you name it. They use countless sources, and that's why these things take so long to introduce. It's because they cross-match their data, and they try the hardest they possibly can to come to a agreed position regarding what's the best to do with that. But it's all based on science. It's all based on science, and with that, yeah, we know that that's a breeding area, and that's a potential impact in the longer term. So there's no doubt that will be looked at.
Also, you put the registration costs up to be able to pay for all this. And that's going to continue. So does this mean that we can look forward to getting more FADs put in, because you're still gaining the same amount of money every year through our registrations, and you've collected all this money to pay these fishes out, and we get a small proportion of that in FADs and that. So the next proportion that you get in government money, shouldn't you be putting more effort into the boat ramps and lighting all that on these pontoons, because it's like the one at Riverheads?
I'll take that as advice, Don. And the reason I'll take that as advice is that I'm just a lowly backbencher. I'm not the minister that makes the decision regarding this. I don't have a whole department sitting under advising me about what's the best position, and I'm definitely not the treasurer. And so obviously, I'm not saying yes and I'm not saying no here, but definitely that's something that I'll take feedback from you. And I had my... did we find out about the fishing licences?
I just sent it to you. They've just sent it through us. It's on your phone.
Yeah, that's right. Obviously, you know that with the 1st of July, we've actually implemented a lot of cost of living savings. One of those was to freeze all licences, and that being driving. Is it and I just wanted to make sure the fishing licences were being frozen for this year as well.
CPI increases are not being applied for this year, so they are being frozen.
Yes, so fishing licences are being frozen for this year. Yep. As well.
Next year we mines do.
Sorry? Oh no, it's for a 12-month period. So if you've already paid yours, it's like people are saying to me with the 20% for your drivers for your car registration. People are going, I've already paid it because it comes in on the 5th of August. No, it's for the full year. So you'll be captured towards the end of towards the end of next year. Yeah, it's a full 12-year cycle, and who knows? Following the next election, what actually happens, we don't know. Whether that will continue, whether we'll continue to reduce transportation costs, whether we continue to do those sorts of things. But those things are in place now, and speaking with Treasurer and being the representatives there, I've spoken with Treasurer about reducing cost of living costs for people as well. So, you know, you all know about your power being reduced by $1,000, or the other, particularly if you're a concession card holder, you'll be getting $1,672 in the next 12 months off your power. So we're trying to reduce the costs that way. I also probably need to take this opportunity, without being overtly political, but I've got to be, it's an election year. The reality is this. Some people say to me, now that you've put into place this Great Sandy Marine Park plan, for most recreational fishers, by and large, not everybody's happy, but by and large, most people are saying it's a good step forward. It's at least a good step forward. Can I just tell you that it's a regulation that this was put into place? What I mean by that is, the way our laws work is that if the Labor government is thrown out at the end of October, and a lot of talk in the area that, yeah, maybe that will occur and maybe I will lose my seat, that's fine. That's up to you as voters to determine that. But can I tell you one thing, and this is the risk. Because it's a regulation, incoming governments overnight can reverse it. They can rescind this act or this regulation and revert back to the old plan overnight. So that means they can reintroduce all those regulations we put into place to ensure that commercial fishers are being taken out of the Great Sandy Marine Park. So it's as simple as that. Overnight, they can just put in a rescinding motion in the Parliament and revert this back to its old self. So that is the risk recreational fishers are facing if they vote for the other guy this time round, because my understanding, he's a commercial fishing advocate, and what he's going to do is he's going to get this rescinded. And so, and why? Don't trust me, I'm a politician. If his lips are moving, he's lying, okay? But anyway, I can tell you, because at the last time the Parliament was sitting, we had our budget reply. The spokesperson for fisheries on the other side of the Parliament got up and said that this government did not do justice to the commercial fishing. That's his code for saying, we're going to change what you've put into place. So there is the threat, and I need to be political on that. That is something you need to consider when you go to the polls in October.
Why didn't you put it through as legislation then?
Because it doesn't need to be legislation.
Apparently it does.
Sorry?
Apparently it does.
But that doesn't protect it either, because if it was legislation, if it was an act of Parliament, they could just overturn it. Because unfortunately, depends on which side you. If you think hard about governance in our state, we're a one-chamber Parliament, so those that have the majority there can do anything they like. So basically, if it's an act of Parliament, they just rescind the act. So it doesn't matter. They have the authority to do that, because what happens is you give them the authority to act on your behalf and give them the mandate to do what they like. And I say them, that's the opposition currently. So just be wary of that, and I put that to you. That is the case, and unless the other guy's going to give you an undertaking that they're not going to rescind that, I'd be very careful to watch that, because that's not their party position. They will protect.
It's such a waste of money. All that money you paid out to buy their license back out. You know, they've got all their compensation for it. It'd be such a waste of money if they're going to rescind it and bring it all back in again.
I'll leave that to commentary to you. But that's true. That's true.
Are you saying commercial licences could come back again?
I could say that that's the opposition, could do anything they like, and that means that they could decide to put more commercial licences in certain areas. They could determine that gillnecks should return to the Great Sandy Marine Park. They can do any of that as they so wish, because they are the government of the day. We're a democracy, and we would have to accept that is their decision in regards to that. But that's something I'll be telling recreational fishers across Hervey Bay, that they need to be very careful about how they vote this time round. And I can give you an undertaking as I stand here, as if I'm re-elected, I'll fight it. I will fight it if they try to do that. I will fight it. My government will not rescind this. This will retain, and we'll work towards further enhancements in the Great Sandy Marine Park and the protection for the future of that, because that's what we are about. We're about the future of the Great Sandy Marine Park. As I am as your member, I'm about the future of Hervey Bay, and trying to build a better Hervey Bay, and I'm trying to do my best here. And one of those things in building a better Hervey Bay is to ensure that this becomes more and more attractive for people to come here. And look, I just saw the other day, I don't know whether you guys saw an article that was on ABC News probably about 2 or 3 weeks ago, some fisho holding a barramundi that was like this. I'm not sure how big barramundi are, but this one looked exceptionally big. Where is it? Yeah, well, this one was twice the size, 3 times the size of that. He was like this. No, he got it out of the Fitzroy River. 5 years ago, this Labor government removed the fishing nets out of the Fitzroy River in Rockhampton, and he grabbed this fish right near the bridge, which is in the central part of the Fitzroy River in Rockhampton. It was that big. And do you know what he said? It was such a magnificent creature, he couldn't kill it and eat it, so what he did is he just caught and released. That's what he did, caught and released. He said, this is beautiful. Took a photo, put it back in, and away it went. But apparently that's what's happened. The whole barramundi stock has returned. Don't the guys from what they'll tell you that? It's actually returned. In 5 years it's recovered once those fishing nets are gone. And my hope is that with the reduction of those really damaging gill nets, I think they're allowed to use tunnel nets, isn't it? Is what they're allowed to use now. I think
still allowed to use tunnel nets.
Yeah,
it's
that's
still
right.
allowed to bait net.
Yeah, that's right. So there still is capacity for people to make a living out of fisheries here, but it's at a reduced take, and so that's what we're about doing. Now I know that you guys would have friends in commercial fishing. I know that for commercial fishing people that it's going to be hard to take, and I'm not going to stand here and tell them to suck eggs. What I'm telling them is that we're doing our absolute best to balance it so that we have fishing stocks, a biomass that is there for the future, and the evidence shows that. The science absolutely shows that if we did nothing, we would have devastated 23 endangered species, and the biomass would have got to the point where they would not have recovered. And so that had to be done now.
Are we the only place in Queensland that actually has this problem where they've got the marine park and then they've got commercial fishing?
Further north, isn't it? Yeah, we've got some further north.
Well, the GBR, there's the same thing, and also Moreton Bay. Queensland has the biggest extent of marine parks across Australia. So, yeah, there's only a small bit down off the Gold Coast, in between the 2 marine parks, and then the Gulf area. That's the only areas that aren't marine parks in Queensland. All the rest of the whole coastline is marine park. Yeah.
And just to re-emphasise that during the planning phase, and here's some of the data on it, this was one of the biggest feedback and community and stakeholder feedback on a piece of legislation, or sorry, a regulation that had been done in the past. 6,580 submissions. I mean, that's huge. And people wonder why it took so long to actually get through to it, because these guys have the department's got to read each submission and take into consideration everybody's submission. So that was, and not only that, there was consultation with First Nations people, as it should properly be so, and recommendations from independent scientific reference groups, socio-economic information, and best practice for marine park management. They were all principles that were taken into place. So, if there's, look, I'm pretty buoyed by what's come out of this. Particularly, I'm heartened by the fact that the government listened to me and gave a compensation package to the commercial fishers. It will never take away the impact to them. And let me stand here and say that I don't take pleasure in saying that they were going to be hurt by this, but compensating them so that they can change or have an opportunity to upskill. We've also given them upskill packages where for some of those downstream processors that may lose their positions because there isn't as much stock being taken for them to process. We're giving them intensive training for those individuals who want to go on and change their skills and go and do something else as well. So we're not leaving them by themselves. We've done what we can. Now, I understand that you guys at one stage early on in the piece I said, would you be happy to, if your licence fee went up just a little bit more, because we were trying to compensate commercial fishers, and by and large, nearly 99% of people said yes, absolutely. Because I think you guys understood the impacts of what's going to happen there for you to enjoy your recreational pursuit, which is fishing.
When you say licence fee, we don't have a fishing licence, we have a SIPS permit.
Yeah. Oh, maybe that's a term that they use, yeah.
And the commercial fishers don't fish in the dams.
No. No, well, I think when you're talking about licences, boat licence fees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not fishing license.
Not fishing
what
licence.
I mean by that is any licensing that applies to you guys to pay an extra fee. Most of the guys, by and large, said, yeah, that'll be okay. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think a general opinion of me personally anyway, I would not mind paying a fishing licence, one if it all went back into the resource and didn't go into government coffers, into general revenue, and it all helped us to improve the fishery around here. So to me, that'd be money well spent.
Yep.
It works in other states. Yeah, Victoria, everywhere. You look at the Victorian fishery now. They've had licences down there for years, but now it's a very well managed fishery. Southern bluefin tuna fishery, snapper fishery down there. They're all really well managed, and they all are really big revenue producers for the government. The regional areas like around Portland and all that in Victoria, come tuna season, it's money all around, So, it's a good thing to actually have, I think.
Yeah. Michael, just a question for you, I think it's for you. My name's Al again.
Yeah.
The responsibilities between national parks, fisheries, police and all that, who's conducting the majority of the surveillance for the marine parks, and they've extended the zones?
Yep.
How is that surveyed or checked
So
on a daily basis?
we do that, like as in marine parks. So we will do all of the compliance on zones, and the rules around those zones or designated areas. So we are the ones doing the checking of green zones and things like that.
As in on a daily basis, there's boats out there.
Yep.
Having a look, and
you
said before that there's
Look, last 2 weeks we've had at least one boat out every day.
I heard, the reason I asked that is I heard up in Cairns that they were using drones.
Yep, we have drones as well.
Oh, okay.
Yep, but we're limited to how we're flying under the CASA regulations. They're not unmanned, so we're still flying line of sight. So, so not doing the long range stuff that's up there. Up in the GBR, they also do helicopter.
So National Parks is controlling that surveillance, or is it fisheries?
Well, us in Queensland Parks and Wildlife Service. Yeah.
No, he's not going to give it the schedule.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. The responsibility of the who's responsible for it?
Yeah. So for all the zoning stuff, we are the responsible party. But again, fisheries around the water, they are authorised under marine parks legislation, so they can do it, but they feed that information back to us and we action it. But they're out doing fish sizes and bag sizes, but as for the no-take zones and stuff like that, it's us.
Now, just the next question is probably related more to the fishery side, but can you clean your fish before you bring them in?
You can. It is a fisheries matter, but they still must be whole and be able to be measurable. There are requirements for long voyage trips where you do fillet. Fillets have to be a certain size.
Just talking about the recreational fishing that goes out for a day to catch fish.
Yeah.
And you say, oh geez, I've got in at 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm not going in until later tonight. I'll just whack the fillet through it. And can you do that?
Look, that's a fisheries question. Yeah.
The fillet has to be 40 centimetres or bigger.
Yeah.
The skin has to be on.
And that's only for the reef fish species. Is
yeah. Just a fillet.
Yeah.
If you chop a fillet in half, that's 2 fillets.
Yeah.
Okay,
so that goes towards your bag.
Yeah.
Good question. Thank you.
Can you glue them together?
I had a question for the Parks and Wildlife.
Yeah.
Is there any other measures being taken to help recover the biomass in the park? And would you have any suggestions for us as rec fishers if we could contribute to that at all either?
Look, there are different programs and stuff that we're looking at. So looking at more reef restoration kind of things for oyster beds and stuff like that. Look, after the floods, the seagrass around here was devastated. We're starting to see a good recovery on that. There are projects and research going in about how we can look at potentially seeding seagrass areas and things like that. So there is a lot of research going into that restoration kind of thing. There's a trial going in here for coral restoration, where there'll be some stuff out there to help grow seeded corals out in the bay, which if a place gets devastated by coral bleaching, that they can be used to help seed other areas and things like that.
Okay. Any other questions? Well, look, I thank you all for being listening to me, and thank you for your input. Look, if there are any other questions after this, you know where I am, down on the Esplanade, or you can look up on my webpage or whatever else. There's some leaflets over there that's been left there that has my contact details on it. But I really thank you all, and again, I want to thank you for your input during the whole process. I've been talking regularly to rec fishers and commercial fishers over the whole process in time. I gave it a little bit of time, and as you know, it's 21st of May, but I gave it a little bit of time to settle down, for people to get to know what was in the draft and what was in the final plan before I made any further statement, because there's nothing worse than a politician injecting themselves in a process like this, because it becomes political, and I didn't want this to turn into a political bun fight. What I wanted was some legislation that was considered, measured, and had science back behind it, and I believe we've got into a good place now at this point in time, and we'll work to improve it even further in the future. We'll see what the government wants to do, or future governments want to do in regards to this area, so I thank you very much.
And I just mentioned to everyone, the brochure that you got there, the QR code on the back, takes you to the department's webpage. There is a lot of information on there. There's a new marine park zoning app that you can go out there. It works offline as well. It has follow me feature, tells you what zone you're in at all time. It has pop-up alerts for when you enter certain designated areas, like the no anchoring areas or the go slow areas. So there's a lot of information there. There's files to look at Google Earth, so you can see the zones as well, and everything like that, as well as the decision regulatory impact statement, where all of that information that was used and guided the marine park, where we put zones, why we put zones, all of that research, all of the responses from the consultation processes is all in that document. So it's a big document, it's 400 pages, but it is all there it's all there on the website, and everyone can read it, and you can find out the exact information if you've got a question about a certain area.
What's the fines for being in a green zone these days?
So with CPI, fines have just gone up. They've gone across all platforms. So marine park offence is 5 penalty unit offence, which is now $806.
Can I just say that app you developed is fantastic?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, really
yeah.
Simple, easy to use.
That was the idea. It was meant to be simple, easy to use. We're not collecting any user data. Works offline. It's a very small download, so it doesn't take much space on the phone. So we've had quite a good bit of feedback. We're doing a couple more little tweaks at the moment just to do some minor improvement stuff. But yeah, no, thank you.
Look, I forgot to mention, I want to thank Mike and others for being here. Obviously, you know, they have to deal with the technical questions because, you know, they're the pros when it comes to this sort of stuff. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Darryl, do you want to do a report before you?
On what?